Spirit Island Sunday, shadows flicker like flame, for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today we'll be talking about shadows flicker like flame for Spirit Island Sunday. I'll probably refer to it for shadows from here on out. But it starts with a ritual site on the board and another presence. So you start with 3 presents on the board. Now this is a kind of a lower complexity hero. It's going to be really based on fear. So your whole goal as this spirit is going to be getting those fear cards as fast as you can, trying to flip over the deck. You're not going to have a whole lot of attacking power. You can pick off, you can maneuver a little bit, but your whole idea is to get through that fear deck and try to get all those cards flipped over and win the game that way. So the special rules of shadows is going to be shadows of the hand. So whenever you use a power card that you have in your hand, and when you play it, you can spend 1 energy to target any land with the hand. This is a great power, so you don't have to concentrate way over here. And even those powers that need a ritual site nearby, you can target over on the other side of the map to help the other person. And it's really a neat power that is great near the end of the game or at the beginning of the game when you need to, move those 1 settlers around to make sure they don't build. So a very interesting power, but you need to make sure your Dahan are alive and on the spaces you need for this spirit. So let's talk about the growth options. The growth options are probably the most simple that you're going to see. You have a reclaim cards, and you can get a power card. Pretty classic kind of combination there. Your next growth option is gain a power card and add a presence. You may be looking for lower costing power cards at the beginning of the game, getting your presence on the board. And the last one is add a presence 3 away, so you have a little bit more range and you get 3 energy. So let's talk about the presence track. This is the most straightforward presence track in the game for any spirit. It's 0 to 6. Every time you put 1 out there, you're almost going to gain 1. Goes from 0, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. So anytime you put 1 out there, you'll be gaining more energy. Not too exciting, but you do need some energies because you start with 0, getting a turn. And then for the card plays, kind of the same thing. 1, 2, 3. 3 is duplicated again, so you have 1 turn of kind of wasting, putting a presence out there and not really getting too much benefit from it, all the way to 5. So at the end of the game, you may be having 6 energy, 5 card plays. So you're really going to be wanting to look for those 0s and 1s to maximize those card plays throughout the game. So let's talk about the innate powers. This one's kind of interesting because it is a fast power, 1 away from the ritual site. You'll be able to, with the first level, gather a Dahan, which is really nice, so you can kind of lure them away from being able to build. So this is kind of neat. You can plan in the planning phase if there's a site that you're able to do this with. Now remember, with the shadows of the Dahan, as long as there's a Dahan and you want to pay an energy, which you may be starved at the beginning, but later in the game you'll have plenty, you can just make sure 1 time a turn that settler doesn't build a town. That's great for this power. The next level down is you can also destroy up to 2 settlers. Now what's neat about this one is, remember when you target a land, you can gather, and then if you fulfill both conditions, then you can destroy. So you can not only prevent a build on a turn, you can also destroy a couple settlers, and you do more fear this way. So it's another way to add those fear tokens to get those fear cards rolling. And your last one, which then you'll be able to do all 3 of these, then you can do 3 damage to a place and then more fear. So it's really neat that these are fast powers because you can really plan on your turn what cards you're going to play and if you'll be able to fulfill these before the invaders get to go. So now let's talk about the 4 starting powers. The first one, Concealing Shadows. To me, this is one of the best cards in Shadows' toolkit. You have to target a land that you have a presence on, or one with a hand if you pay an energy. But this one costs 0 and is a fast power. 1 fear, which isn't much, but you're starting to build up that fear. The hand take no damage from ravaging invaders this turn. So the land may take a blight, sure, but if you can stack 3 to hand on a pretty populated space, then you can really do some damage back to those more populated cities. So yes, you're going to be getting blight from this card, but for a 0 costing card, for the hand to be able to strike back is really big. I really like this card in Shadows, and it may be one of the starting plays since it's going to cost you 0, and you're really kind of energy starved at the beginning of the game. The next card we could talk about is Favors Called Due. So this card's a slow power. It's 1 away from one of your presence, or you can pay 1 to play it in any space with a hand. You can gather up to 4 to hand, which is great. Really kind of centralizes the hand, the fighting force on the way back. It does cost 1, and if invaders are present there, 3 fear. If invaders are present and the hand outnumber them, 3 fear. So even if you're trying to get 1 settler, and if you can kind of reclaim and play this just for 3 fear is great. Say there's 1 settler somewhere, you gather 2 to hand at a place, 3 fear. So this is a nice fear bomb for 1 that'll probably stay throughout the game just to keep generating that fear. Next card I want to talk about is Mantle of Dread. This one is a slow power, but can be very useful after the invaders go. You get to choose any target spirit first. The invaders will take 2 fear cards, and then target spirit may push a settler and a town from a land that has one of their presence. So if they're going to ravage, if they're going to build, this can be a great push just for those settlers and towns. So for the onesie twosies to prevent a ravage next turn, this could be a very good forethought kind of card, saying I'm going to play this and assuming they're going to build this turn, and if you have a presence there, just push them away. The last card in the toolkit is Crops Wither and Fade. Just like all the other cards, immediate 2 fear. Once again, you'll want to almost be playing these cards and getting your card plays up just so you can generate all that fear every turn. But this is the classic downgrade card. It has to be a slow power where one of your presences are, which is a little bit odd, or once again, you can target a land with a hand, and you can just downgrade. So this city would now become a town, or this town would become a settler. So it's just taking 1 kind of hit point away from one of the lands. So this is a nice card. Kind of has an odd place and kind of be used as a filler card if you used your really powerhouse cards that turn, and then the next turn you want to put a presence out and you need to play a card. This is probably a good backup card for you. So finally, let's talk about the aspects that you can choose. This one actually came with 4 different play styles that you can use over Shadows from the Jagged Earth expansion. And I'm not going to really go through these. I'll just post them. I'll post pictures of them right now, and you can pause the screen. Most of them increase the complexity of the play style. And then one of them kind of decreases the complexity, saying, we're not going to have an innate power. But they're different ways to play. And I personally, we usually don't play with these different aspects. So Shadows is a really tough spirit in the very early part of the game, because you're only going to be able to add 1 presence to the board. And the first turn, you're either going to gain an extra energy in 1 card, or 2 cards, and hope that your RNG, your random draw for your power card gives you another 0 costing card. So as I said earlier, you're really going to be looking for those 0 to 1 costing cards in the early part of the game in maximizing your card play. So you're really you're really going to have to use those presences and rely on the other person to kind of take care of things. What's neat about once you get into the 2-card kind of rhythm, you can gather the settlers, prevent the growth, but you're going to have a hard time at the beginning of the game deciding which cards to play. Energy management with 0 energy a turn and 1 card play. On turn 1, you may have 1 energy and 1 card play, but it's really tough at the beginning because you're not going to be able to take care of too much. Now, this is kind of typical in most spirits. You're obviously going to get more powerful. However, you're really trying to get through that fear deck, and you're not really taking care of these cities too well, or these towns and cities. You're moving around settlers. You can eventually kind of take them out once you get to the 3-card play, kind of manipulation. Now, what you're really going to be looking for in these gain power cards is you're really going to be wanting to maximize these moons and fires, the essences that you're gathering, so you can really try to get these innate powers every turn. So once you get into the 3-card play, you're going to want to try to get these every single turn that you can, just to give you some more variable play. Like I said, you're really going to be relying on the other person. You're terrible at taking out massive, encampments of cities and towns. But it's an interesting spirit, a lower complexity. You can move things around. You'll really be going through the fear deck. If you can produce 3 to 4 fear per turn, every other turn you can be going through that. If you can destroy some towns, and then the other person can be adding a little bit of fear, you can really be chunking through that deck. But with this spirit, you're going to be getting some blight added to the island. You have no defense. You have no big attack. Taking care of these cities. Your growth is pretty slow, but steady. And you're just going to be wanting to get rid of, get as many fear cards. When you play this spirit, you're going to have to assume that your win condition is probably going to be going through the fear card deck. So this is a pretty standard spirit. It's not one that I really enjoy playing, but it's really interesting, and you really need to play along with the other player, like most of these spirits. You're not going to be a powerhouse really in the early game, but in the late game, when you have these 5-card plays and you've massed up enough cards that are 0 cost, 1 cost, and you have the energy to play, this could be a really nice utility spirit. Now, the other person is going to have to defend quite a bit. Like I said, you'll be taking some damage, but if you can gather the Dahan, if you can use the Dahan wisely and not lose too many of them, especially with your concealing shadows where the Dahan won't take damage from ravaging invaders, the more you can keep Dahan on the board with this spirit, the better. Because remember, you have infinite range. As long as there's a Dahan there with the shadows of the Dahan special rule. And you have to utilize the Dahan, and hopefully they can do the heavy lifting on those places. And remember, it's not going to defend, so you're going to get blight on the board, but if the Dahan can strike back and add more fear, that plays into exactly what you're going to be looking for. So that's it. All I have for Shadows Flicker Like Flame. It's a neat spirit, one that I don't really enjoy playing since it's mainly like fear-based, and you're really relying on the other person to do the heavy lifting on their side of the board. There's not a ton you can do. You can probably prevent 1 build per turn, but you really need to manipulate the Dahan. You can spread along the board. The special rules, cool. The innate powers, like I said, if you can get those rolling every turn, really neat. So that's all I have for this one, and see you guys next week.